In one day, I undid what nature spent 100 years or more doing.
I don't like it.
Makes
me ill.
But what is this place going to look like in another 100 years?
We're not going to be here in 100 years.
But
Come on. Oh, that's a great job.
Careful, don't hurt her.
Oh, hey. Oh, that's not the hole.
Good job, little Reuben. Good job.
the temperatures outside are amazing right now, and I really couldn't ask for a better working environment. It's not too hot just yet. We're getting rain every few days. The animals and the kids can't get enough of the outside weather right now. But the hotter it gets, I have to remind myself that I waited all winter long just for a day like today. I'm really working hard to get the batten strips and the 1x12 boards fitting just the way that I want them. I don't want to have to adjust or mess with this again anytime soon. I'm going to let the new board and batten siding sit for maybe a month while I get a few other projects out of the way. I need to get the solar panels finished up and moved from the ground to the roof, and then somewhere in that moment I'll get the house stained, hopefully with the right color, and get it done right the first time. Once the solar panels have been moved from the ground to the roof, I can then focus on the hillside and start making the changes that we want to for the retaining wall and the garden that will be on that hillside behind the house. At least once a day, one of us comes up and checks the water for the goats and kind of checks on them to see how they're doing. We're getting enough rain that there's just no way the goats are going to be able to keep up with the weeds. And we're down to 5 goats. We've gotten rid of any that we don't want to keep around here. And I'm kind of on the hunt for another potentially more valuable breed of goat, like a boar or something like that, that there might be a little bit more demand for than your average dairy goat. And now that I see, again, how well the pastures are doing, so I still have this other pasture over here that currently the goats are fenced out of. I don't think they're even going to knock this down enough to where I'm going to have to move them over there. Other than cows, I'm not crazy about putting cows up here on the hillside. I think the goats handle the hillside much, much, much better. And the goats are kind of in a transition period right now where they're getting a little bit lean because they're not used to having to rely on the weeds as their only source of feed. So another few days they will acclimate, and they're also having to work for their food. They have to hike around to get their food, so they've all lost a little bit of weight, but they all look very, very healthy, and they typically by the end of summer are in the best shape, and then we move them back down to the barn for winter. This year, these goats aren't even putting a dent in how much feed there is on the hill.
I left some of her shoes here. Oh my, holy cow. Wait, I didn't even realize. This is heavy.
Cedar told the kids that if they helped us get this area nice and cleaned up, she would have a legit surprise for them that would go perfect with their warm summer days. Lined up? lift this tongue up. I'm going to walk over here and I want to push it as tight as we can right here. But because the tires are flat, it's so heavy. Now to start the process of carefully filling the swimming pool without completely draining our water tanks. At this moment we have 5,000 gallons of fresh drinkable water, and hopefully before the summer's over we will add another 2,500 gallons to that. But the water coming right out of the bottom of our well has a tendency to be very, very cold.
It's so big. Just fall back? Just do it.
Yeah, I know. This is like
It's hot. Okay, my toes are like
cold.
Yeah.
That's called hypothermia.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm taking your towels and I'm going inside. How's that?
My towels.
We made a deal. You guys helped us get all this cleaned up, and your mom surprised you with this pool. Okay, I'm going inside.
Okay.
Your towels
I'm
are.
gonna sit here and get used to
You
it.
guys can do whatever you want. Your towels are right there.
Okay.
I have made it very clear to Cedar that if something were to ever happen to me, that she has no obligation to keep Red Poppy Ranch. As a matter of fact, I told her that she should put the place up for sale and move to town as soon as she could if something were to happen to me. That being said, I know that Cedar is just as connected to this place as I am, and I know that she would not sell the place. But I also know there's a tremendous amount of responsibility and work that comes with living where we live. So I'm going to spend the rest of the weekend working on all of this siding and getting as much of it done as I possibly can. I don't think I have quite enough 1x12s to do the entire back, but I definitely have enough to finish this end and at least get started on the back. And then I had the excavator rented for about 5 days, and once that excavator gets here, I'm not going to do anything but live on that excavator for as much of that 5-day period as I can. And I'm hoping to get the pad cut in over there and the driveway or the road cut back into that property too. That's my goal. But I'm also going to thin those trees and clean up as much as I can. I'm doing the usual car park shuffle that I have to do around the place to have enough room to park the cars that we need to on a daily basis, as well as keep the 2 trucks around that I intend on turning into the next plow truck. But if I could go back to the beginning and change the layout right here, naturally we would have more parking. My oldest son, Rhett, and I had a heart-to-heart about what we're going to do with these two trucks, and we decided that by having them parked right here next to the shop, we can roll them out from under the porch and work on them until the truck's back on the road. So now I think we can just use the side-by-side like in the evenings when you get home, Rhett.
Yeah.
And we'll roll it out right here.
We have to cut the top off this thing.
I just don't want to get glass all over. If we can get those doors off and that windshield off and the back window out,
Okay.
we'll go to town and get a soda.
Oh, we gotta. So you think we'll take the bed off first so we can throw everything in the bed?
And then I'll go get the other trailer and either put the trailer right here where it's real accessible, and then once we fill it up with all the sheet metal, we'll... Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
I gotta take Ruby for a ride now, because she... We can move all the tools around the front and get everything away from there. This is the last spot I really have to work on.
Where do you want the tools?
Everything, I think we can move back here, but I want to hit this all with a weed eater first and clean it up. If you could see what I see in my head when it comes to this little corner of our property, I wouldn't have to try and talk about it. I probably shouldn't talk about it anyway, because who really knows how it's going to turn out. But I sure hope that this little corner turns out to be a really neat place in the form of a few terrace gardens and a rock retaining wall that should look beautiful as a backdrop for our house. I've planted somewhere around 20,000 red poppy seeds on that hillside, so I always let the grass go a little bit longer before I hit it with the weed eater. But we've only had about 30 or 40 of those red poppies come up over the years, and I try not to touch those with the weed eater. But this is an opportunity to get the place cleaned up and move all of the tools and all the scrap lumber from the front of the house to the back of the house, where I have just a little bit of siding left to finish. As messy as it can be, I try to hang on to every last little bit of wood and use every scrap piece that I possibly can before I make a decision on what's going to be firewood and what's going to be siding. But I've got quite a collection piled up here, and Cedar's got all the kids coming up for the 4th of July, so it's a good time to get things picked up and moved around to the back of the house. Our oldest daughter Sage and her boyfriend Mason were the first to show up, and they jumped right in, helping us get the place cleaned up. And then Cedar's older brother and family showed up just in time.
Here he is.
Let's do that right there. So this is Kijo,
He doesn't.
the newest member of the Rat
Camera shy.
the newest member of the Rat Pack. We've had him up here for like what, 2 weeks?
Yeah.
3 weeks?
3 weeks, 4 weeks.
So you had Kijo for how long? You've had him for over a year?
He wants down.
That's fine. So we now have 4 cats. He's the only boy in the clan, and me and him get along really good. But who's...
You said he was your favorite cat.
I think he is, yeah.
And my mom said the only one he lets get on his lap. So there's that too.
Yeah, I like him. But where did Kijo come from?
He came from a very close friend. If you guys remember, we did share a little bit about her last year. My friend Amanda that passed away in April wasn't a cat person before. Her parents gave me the lovely responsibility of watching.
So you were not a cat person.
I was
It was
not.
Amanda's cat.
It was, yeah.
Her parents thought it would be nice to give you the cat.
Yeah, to
And
have a
you-
little piece of her after she
Yeah.
passed away. And he ended up becoming my best buddy. Now your best buddy.
Now he's a mouser up here with the
Yeah,
clan,
yeah.
earning his keep.
Yeah.
But I like him. He's turning the corner. He's starting to get more and more friendly, and
He's not allowed at my new apartment.
Yeah, that-
so that is why he's at Red Poppy Ranch for the time being, and he is loving it.
yeah, he
Loving it.
He wanted to be outside. He would always want to be outside.
Go to the door and wiggle
Whoops,
the doorknob
sorry.
like this with his paws when he wanted to go outside. So
He's a smart cat.
loves the outside.
He's a really smart cat. Okay, so I'm gonna just kind of show you. Obviously, we haven't done any dirt work yet. I haven't started pushing dirt around, but so what I'm gonna do is drive all the way back in there to the spot where I think I want to cut this big pad in. Okay, wider, deeper, leveler, flatter.
Not wider.
As wide as I can with these trees here. This big rock right here, I'm gonna move down probably on the front of the road here. We'll have the same big old rocks like we do across the front. So right up here is where I want to start, and like this entire, and just start pushing it down to make it flat. So whatever we do right here is going to be looking down on that, and so this will all be green and grassy, and I think this is the spot up here. Have a long road that comes all the way in up here, so it'll be a really long driveway.
So not so steep.
Not so it's not so steep, and then from wherever this pad is,
I mean the house isn't going over here. Why do you have to take those down? I only think where the house goes, you take the trees down.
because it's going to be fenced. As far as grass is concerned, we can't ever really get a grass going.
I want trees, not grass.
I want both, and I think we can do that. We've shown that, but I have to thin a little bit. I don't know what to tell you. You have to trust me with this, because I know at some point I'm gonna leave way more trees around the house where the house would be.
See, I think the trees would be, you leave all the trees up front and then you take the trees around the house.
So if you wanted to, we could put spruce trees across the front of it or something. But you got to remember, there's going to be the same fence that we have across the front of our house. Is going to go all the way across here, and then I want grass, the most beautiful grass, that if we can get it going, and then if we want to create some more pastures, we can. But I can keep the trailers up here. I can get those 2 trucks out of here once we have a pack. I'm going to have to, once we have a pad cut in, I'm going to have a whole bunch of gravel brought in. But for anything we don't want to look at, like a plow truck, if we want to keep it over here, I just hate that we have to keep stuff by the house because we have so little parking around the house. So in order for this to work and work right, some of these trees have to go. I hate it. I really do.
I get it.
There's
I get
rot
it.
in
It's
them.
just-
They're dying because they're competing for resources.
Yeah, I
And
get
so-
it. I like this. I like the look.
I like it too, but I have to be able to maintain, as the grass gets taller, As the invasive weeds get taller, the bugs get worse. So, like the house, if I can mow and knock the grass down, or if I could put animals that can graze and knock the grass down, then we don't have to worry about the biting bugs as much and things like that. So
Just focus on where the pad goes.
okay, so where the pad goes, I have to take out every tree.
Okay, that's understandable, but I feel like leave this alone until the pad's done.
But also remember, I only have the excavator for a week, and the most I can get done within reason.
We're just going to have to agree that we're going to disagree on this. We both are seeing it totally different. I can see your side, and I get it. We've done this before. It's not like this is the first time you've done this, but I just have a different vision, I guess.
Yeah.
And my brain works differently than yours does. So
I know.
That's not where I would start.
But when I'm done, now that the other place is done, you can see what I was trying to do. I want to do the same thing. I want grass and trees.
It's our visions are a little bit different, and it is what it is.
So you would just rather have just a mess of trees dying and falling over everywhere?
Kind of, yeah.
Well, I'm sorry.
I would rather look out to this than look out to a road. That's all I'm saying.
I'm totally with you. I don't want to see the road either.
But we can.
Yeah, look, I'm undoing what nature has spent the last 150 years doing. I hate it. I really do. I hate having to cut these trees down.
I don't think you do hate it.
No, listen,
like
this
it.
is totally
I
different.
think it's satisfaction.
No,
when you can
this one is totally different because I have way more time to think about what I'm doing than I did the first time. The first time, it was a process. I wasn't connected at all to what I was doing in that moment. I was just trying to do busy work at that time before we started building the house. I knew trees needed to come down. This is different. I'm telling you, this is different in a way, especially if we really do build a house over here. That's why I'm trying to decide how far up the hill to go. Do we want to go way further up the hill? Do I want to do a switchback and go put the house way over here and go way up the hill?
I don't know.
But if you would rather have the house where you can't see the road at all, I can do that. It's just going to be a little bit more work to go.
Oh, well, you couldn't see the road before you chopped the trees down.
You have to. Okay, down here, this.
Okay, I get it, but I'm just saying.
Cedar, we couldn't walk through that right there yesterday.
We don't have to walk over there right now. And you're building the pad.
I do. Okay, I walk everywhere.
You
I go
walk on
every
the trail.
No.
You build a
no.
trail, and then you leave the rest of the trees alone.